Let me tell you something real tonight. When a woman doesn't reach out to a man, when she goes silent, something deep starts to move in that man's mind. Now, most people think men don't feel much, that we just move on, no big deal. But the truth, it's different. We just hide it better. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about communication. It's the heartbeat of every connection between a man and a woman. When people stop talking, they stop understanding. When they stop understanding, they start assuming. And when they start assuming, love starts breaking down brick by brick. You see, most of the time, it's not what's said that causes the damage. It's what's left unsaid. Communication is not just about words. It's about the energy that passes between two people. It's that simple. Hey, how are you? That reminds someone they still matter. It's that message that says, I'm thinking about you, even when you don't know what to say. When a woman stops reaching out, a man's mind becomes a battlefield of thoughts and questions. He starts replaying conversations, analyzing moments, wondering where it all went wrong. Because for a man, communication isn't just information. It's validation. It's how he knows he's still connected, still cared for, still seen. Without it, he starts to feel invisible. And let me tell you, that's one of the hardest feelings a man can face. See, men might not always say it, but we depend on that emotional link more than we admit. We might wear confidence on our sleeve, but silence cuts deeper than most people realize. Communication is the bridge that holds hearts together. When that bridge breaks, everything else starts. Ladies and gentlemen, when a woman stops reaching out, it doesn't just create quiet, it creates a storm inside a man's head. A man might look calm on the outside, but on the inside, he's fighting 1,000 thoughts all at once. At first, he tells himself it's nothing, that maybe you're just busy, that you'll text later or call tomorrow. But as the hours turn into days, that silence begins to grow heavier, and his confidence begins to shrink. You see, silence to a man isn't peaceful, it's confusing. He starts asking himself questions he never had before. Did I say something wrong? Did she lose interest? Is she talking to somebody else? It's like his mind becomes a room full of unanswered questions, and he can't find the light switch. Men are taught to be strong, to be logical, to not let emotions take over. But silence breaks through that wall like nothing else. When a man doesn't hear from the woman he cares about, he doesn't just feel ignored, he feels uncertain. And uncertainty is one of the hardest things for a man to handle, because men like solutions. They like to fix things, they like to know what's going on. But when there's no message, no sign, no hint of what went wrong, when a woman doesn't reach out, something powerful starts happening in a man's mind. A clash between pride and vulnerability. It's a quiet war that no one sees, but one that every man feels. Pride tells him to stay strong, to keep his distance, to act like he doesn't care. Vulnerability whispers the truth, the one he doesn't want to admit, that he misses her, that her absence feels heavier than he expected. This internal struggle can twist a man's thoughts and emotions until he doesn't even know what he truly feels anymore. One moment, he's determined to move on, convincing that he doesn't need her. The next, he's wondering if she's thinking about him, checking his phone, even though he swore he wouldn't. Men are often taught that showing emotion makes them weak. From a young age, they hear phrases like, man up, or don't let her see you cry. So when a woman goes silent, A man's pride steps in like a bodyguard, blocking his true feelings from coming out. He'll put on a mask, smile in public, laugh with friends, hat unbothered. But deep down, vulnerability is knocking on his heart, asking to be let out. It's a strange place to be because pride tells him that reaching out means losing, while vulnerability tells him that staying silent might mean losing something much bigger. Love, peace, or the chance to fix things. The clash between these two forces doesn't just affect his emotions, it changes the way he thinks. Pride pushes him to prove a point, to protect his ego. When it comes to what men say versus what they really feel, there's often a whole world hiding beneath the surface. Most men are not taught how to express their emotions openly. So what comes out of their mouths doesn't always match what's going on in their hearts. When a woman doesn't reach out, a man might say things like, "It's whatever," or even, "I don't care anymore." But those words are rarely the truth. What he feels is often the complete opposite: confusion, disappointment, and an H he can't quite describe. It's not that men want to lie about their emotions. It's that they're conditioned to protect them. They think being open makes them weak, so instead of saying, "I miss her," they say, "I'm good." Instead of admitting they're hurt, they laugh it off and pretend it doesn't matter. Deep down, though, every silence eats away at them. They think about what went wrong, what they could have said, or whether they should have tried harder. But pride steps in and locks those feelings inside. The words stay trapped because vulnerability feels dangerous. When a woman doesn't reach out, a man might feel rejected or forgotten, and that bruises his sense of worth. So he hides behind short phrases and empty smiles, hoping no one notices what's really going. Ego and love are two powerful forces that live inside every man, constantly wrestling for control. When a woman doesn't reach out, these two emotions collide like thunder and lightning in his heart. Ego tells him, "Don't text her first. Don't let her think you're weak." Love, on the other hand, whispers, "What if she's hurting too? What if she's waiting for you?" It's a tug of war between the part of him that wants to win and the part of him that just wants peace. The truth is, ego protects his pride, but love protects his soul. And when she stays silent, that battle only gets louder. At first, a man's ego tries to take over. It builds walls around his heart and convinces him that silence is strength. He'll scroll through his phone, see her name, and hesitate. His thumb might hover over her contact, but ego will always say, "Don't do it. She should reach out first." So he listens. He waits. But the longer he waits, the more love starts to ache beneath the surface. Because deep down, he doesn't want distance. He wants connection. He doesn't want to prove a point. He wants to be understood. Yet ego won't let him admit that. It's a prideful shield that keeps him from saying, "I miss you." Ego makes him act like he's fine. He'll go out, laugh with friends, post something confident online, all while love sits quietly inside, hurting. Love doesn't shout like ego does. It speaks softly through memories and moments. It reminds him of her laugh, her words, her presence. It makes him wonder what she's doing if she still thinks about him. But ego always interrupts, saying, "Stop being weak." That's the trap. Ego sounds strong, but it's driven by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of losing control, fear of looking foolish for caring too much. When a man starts to realize this, he begins to understand that ego can win the battle but lose the war. Because every time he chooses pride over love, He builds a little more distance between himself and the person who could have made him better. Love doesn't care about who texts. Understanding before judging silence is one of the most powerful things a person can learn, especially when emotions are involved. When a woman doesn't reach out, a man's mind instantly fills with assumptions. He might think she's angry, disinterested, or done with him altogether. But silence doesn't always mean absence of feeling. Sometimes it's a message of its own, one that requires patience instead of reaction. The truth is, people communicate in different ways, some through words, others through distance. In that quiet space, understanding is what separates love from ego, connection from confusion. When a man feels ignored, his first instinct is to protect himself. He starts judging her silence as rejection, not realizing it could be reflection. Maybe she's trying to figure things out. Maybe she's hurt. Maybe she's waiting for him to show effort. But his emotions get loud, drowning out reason. He replays old conversations, overthinks every detail, and starts forming conclusions that may not even be true. That's where the problem begins. Reacting before understanding. Because when judgment steps in too quickly, it builds walls instead of bridges. Understanding requires stillness, something most people struggle with. It means sitting with the discomfort of not knowing. Trusting that silence doesn't always mean something's wrong. It means listening to what's not being said. Sometimes silence is how someone protects themselves from saying something they'll regret. Sometimes it's how they gather strength. But when a man judges too fast, he takes it personally. Lets insecurity speak louder than empathy. Instead of asking, what might she be feeling? He says, why is she doing this to me? That shift in perspective changes everything. A man who chooses to understand instead of judge begins to see silence differently. He realizes that love isn't about constant noise or constant contact. It's about patience, about giving space without assuming the worst. It's about recognizing that both people process emotions differently. Understanding creates peace, judgment creates distance. When a man can pause and see beyond his own frustration, he discovers that silence isn't always a wall. Sometimes it's a window waiting to be opened carefully. In those moments of quiet, understanding can turn confusion into clarity. It teaches him to look beyond his ego and listen with his heart. Maybe she's silent because she needs healing. Maybe she's silent because she's waiting to see if his care runs deeper than convenience. Whatever the reason, choosing to understand first keeps the connection alive. Because at the end of the day, silence is not the enemy, impatience is. When a man learns to respond with empathy instead of assumption, love doesn't fade in the quiet, it grows stronger through it.